There is the McBee Dynasty, real American Cowboys cast member who is continuing their questionable decision-making amid piling scandals. McBee Dynasty Season 2 is 6 episodes in, and this season, despite not having patriarch Steve McBee Sr., has been wildly entertaining. In the background of Season 2, Steve Sr. is facing a 30-year prison sentence for crop insurance fraud, which he pleaded guilty to in 2024. Moreover, McBee Farm and Cattle Co. is being run by oldest McBee brother, Stephen Jr., and he's made some financial mistakes, as has third oldest brother, Cole McBee. Aside from the interpersonal, business, and relationship drama of the McBee boys, Steve Sr.'s love life has been the cause of many tumultuous moments. Specifically, his actions have affected McBee co-CFO, Galina Salkowska, and she is still being affected. Galina has been involved in scandals in McBee Dynasty. She became unhinged. When McBee Dynasty fans met Galina, she was dating Steve Sr., but he wanted things to be more casual than Galina was making them, as he enjoyed dating other women with no strings. At the start of Season 2, fans learned that Steve dumped Galina and started dating her friend, Masha, even moving her into his house. Off the betrayal and split, Galina became spiteful. Not only did she allegedly cause $7,000 worth of damage to Masha's car, but she also broke into Steve's house and vandalized things, as well as let his chickens out. Then, Galina went dark for several important days at work and got caught drinking on the job. Also, Galina was the one to out Steve Sr.'s FBI fraud investigation on the show. So to say Galina has been unhinged and been at the center of McBee misconduct would be an understatement. Furthermore, it's been revealed that Galina was Steve Sr.'s mistress while he was still married to his wife, Christy McBee. Galina continues to post with Steve Sr. It's a bad look. While Galina should have learned lessons from being part of the McBee business and Steve Sr.'s love life, it looks like she hasn't. On her Instagram, Galina shared an image standing next to Steve, promoting the family's Apex protein snacks. She also reposted a McBee promotional video featuring Steve Sr. Galina appears just as wrapped up in Steve Sr.'s affairs as ever, and it's not a good look for her, given all the scandalous things that have taken place. The McBee Dynasty, real American Cowboys cast member Galina is continuing to make questionable decisions involving Steve Sr. instead of trying to make her damaged reputation better. The humid air of the Missouri summer clung to Galina like a second skin, a constant, oppressive reminder of the chaos she was swimming in. It was a chaos of her own making, a swirling storm of betrayal and vengeance, but in her heart, she was still the victim. She had been the CFO of the McBee empire, a self-made woman who had fallen for the patriarch, Steve Sr., the kind of man who didn't so much walk as he commanded the very ground beneath him. He had promised her a future, a partnership, a kingdom built on cattle and corn, and a shared ambition that burned hotter than any summer sun. But kingdoms, she had learned, were built on promises as fragile as glass. The breakup had been a public spectacle, a raw wound for the world to see. Steve, she had discovered, wasn't just a partner in business. He was a partner in, well, a partner with too many women, and one of them, a woman named Masha, had been her friend. Her betrayal had been a swift, brutal blow that had shattered Galina's carefully constructed world. And Galina, in her fury, had struck back. She had broken into Steve's house, a place she had once called home, and carved her rage into its walls. The vandalism was a scream, a guttural shriek of a woman scorned. The chickens, his prize-winning birds, let loose into the night, were a symbol of her desire to see his world, his carefully curated farm, fall into disarray. It was a bad look, her PR team had warned her, a terrible look. But in the moment, it had felt like justice. Now, with Steve Sr. facing a 30-year prison sentence for a multi-million-dollar fraud scheme, a scandal she herself had helped expose, the dynasty was being run by his sons. The eldest, Stephen Jr., was a younger, more cautious version of his father, weighed down by the company's impending $6 million debt. The third brother, Cole, was a handsome train wreck, his reckless past catching up to him in the form of a pregnant girlfriend and a looming sense of failure. They were the men she was supposed to be helping, the men whose futures were tied to the very company she had helped build. But Galina couldn't help but feel a pull back to the source of her pain, the man who had been both her tormentor and her greatest love. It was a gravitational force she couldn't escape, even as her friends and the court of public opinion urged her to move on. They didn't understand. They saw a spurned ex-lover. She saw the man who had seen her for the driven, intelligent woman she was. He had been the only one, she told herself, who had ever truly seen her. And so, she continued to post with him on Instagram. A photo of them, side by side, promoting Apex protein snacks. A repost of a promotional video, his face smiling, his voice booming with the confidence of a man who believed he was untouchable. Each post was a declaration, a refusal to be cast aside. It was a statement to Masha, to the McBee boys, to the world, that she was still a part of this dynasty. That she and Steve Sr. were still connected, no matter how toxic the relationship, no matter how many scandals piled up. The CFO's office, a sleek, modern space with a panoramic view of the sprawling Missouri farmland, felt like a cage. The windows, meant to inspire, only showed her the vastness of the McBee world she was still clinging to. The phone on her desk rang, and she knew without looking that it was Stephen Jr. He would have another problem. Another financial crisis. Another brother's mistake to clean up. She took a slow sip of her lukewarm coffee, the bitter taste a perfect reflection of her life. She was a woman of ambition, a woman who had clawed her way to the top, only to be dragged down by a man who saw her as just another conquest. Yet, she found herself unable to sever the tie. The truth was, the scandals had given her a new kind of power. She was no longer just the CFO. She was the central figure in a dramatic saga, the unhinged woman who had dared to fight back. Her reputation might have been damaged, but it was not invisible. Her questionable behavior, the drinking on the job, the late nights, the public outbursts, had transformed her from a quiet, calculating businesswoman into a compelling, if tragic, character. And in the strange, twisted logic of this new world, that was a kind of currency. Later that evening, scrolling through her phone, she saw a new comment on her latest post with Steve Sr. It was from Christy McBee, Steve's ex-wife, a woman she was supposed to be a rival to. Still hanging on, Galina? The comment read. It wasn't a question, it was a judgment, a challenge. For a fleeting second, Galina felt a surge of shame. She was an adult, a professional, a woman of means. Why was she still playing this game? Why was she so wrapped up in the affairs of a man who was about to go to prison? She closed the app, her thumb hovering over the delete account button. It would be easy, a clean break, a chance to rebuild her life, her reputation, to be a woman who was defined by her own successes, not by the chaos of a broken dynasty. But then she thought of Masha, of Steve's sons, of the entire world watching. To delete her account, to disappear, would be to admit defeat. It would be to let them win. She opened the app again, the familiar glow of the screen a hypnotic siren. She found an old photo, one of her and Steve Sr., from a time before the scandals, before Masha, before the FBI. They were standing in front of the cattle, the sun setting behind them, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. He had his arm around her waist, and she was smiling, a genuine, unburdened smile. She didn't post it. Instead, she just stared at it, a ghost of a past that never really was, a memory of the woman she had almost become. The phone slipped from her hand, landing softly on the plush carpet. She was still here, still a part of the McBee dynasty, still making questionable decisions. And as she watched the sun set on the horizon, she knew with a certainty that chilled her to the bone that the storm was far from over.